Everyone, welcome. All right. Well, hi, I have not been here for a while, so I'm really excited to teach you Abstract Under the Sea Turtles. So this is a big painting. We typically do some that are a little bit smaller. So we're using a 16 by 16 canvas, but you can absolutely use any size that you have. So don't feel that it has to be square or this large if you want to go a little bit smaller, or you can go larger. We are using FolkArt paints. And so I'll walk you through that and all our supplies. We have Stephen in the other studio. If you have any questions, as always, please put them in the comments and we'll try to answer them while we're live. So it's good to see everybody. I see all the names popping up, so I'm excited. Okay, so before we get started, a couple things that you will need. If you don't have the exact colors or brushes or tools, don't worry about it. We can substitute and you can make it your own. We just want this to be fun and, really, it's a really fun abstract painting. So let's just have fun with it tonight. So if you saw on when you registered for the class, there was a free printable you could download and print that was the turtle. So this is the turtle that we are doing. And you can see here, this is the pattern that we provided. And it came like this. So it printed off 8.5 by 11 and they're all lettered. And you just piece these together to make your turtle. So you can tape them together and cut it out. So hopefully you all are able to have that. If not, you can absolutely draw your turtle freehand. But this is a really great, easy way to do it. I love that we provided this template. There's a lot of detail on this. You can transfer as much detail or as little detail as you want over to your canvas. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. So we've got our printable. Then we have our paints. So we are using FolkArt and we've got a lot of colors included in this. But again, if you don't have all these colors, it is totally okay. We can mix. You can make your turtle pink or purple or green or whatever color you want. So don't worry. But we are using the high quality FolkArt acrylic paint, has a matte finish, what we're using. Again, all available at Michaels and Michaels.com. So we've got a wide range of colors. This is probably some of the most colors that we've had in a painting for a while. So again, some basics that you'll need if you don't have all these colors or you're going to paint along after, you're definitely going to need white, blue. We're using an ultramarine blue. So this is a really pretty bright blue. Green. So we have two shades of green here. So we've got classic green and lime green. You could absolutely use the classic green and add some yellow in it to get a lime green if you don't have that. So a lot of ways you can mix and match, but FolkArt has hundreds of beautiful colors. We've got sunny yellow. Then we have got brown, which is coffee bean. We've got licorice, which is a black. That's an important one. And then really, this is where you can personalize your turtle. If you can see, there's so many beautiful colors in this turtle. So if you want him to have more pink highlights or more purple or more blues or reds, you can absolutely personalize that. But you can see all the beautiful colors we're going to layer. So we have got a baby pink and a bright pink, a pure orange, two different purples, a violet pansy and a perfect purple. And then we also have an apple red and we have glitter pop. And this is dragon scales. Again, you could use a variety of different glitters, but Glitterific Pop is one of the newest glitters that we have out. It is multiple size holographic glitter suspended in a milky base, but it dries crystal clear. So you can see that. So it's multiple colors, multiple shapes, all in this milky base, but it dries completely. The base dries clear and you can see, you just get that beautiful shimmer. So we're adding green, but if you have blue or gold or silver, it would all be great to use. We're using Glitterific Pop. Again, this is brand new at Michaels this year. If you have Glitterific, which was our original Glitterific in the line, you can absolutely use that also. So those are the paints that we're using. So again, if you have questions about substituting, please let us know. Again, they're all on the supply list. I know I kind of went fast, but really you need blue, white, green, black, and then whatever range of colors you want to really just add personality and pops of color to your turtle. Something else that's really important, we're using sponges today to paint with. So we're going to do a lot with these sea sponges. Again, available at Michael's and michaels.com. If you don't have sea sponges, you could use a regular sponge, but you want to rip it and kind of rough it up a little bit. So if you don't have a sea sponge, we love the sea sponges because they give you that great texture that you're going to see on this canvas. If you don't have that, you just have a regular old kitchen sponge, that will totally work. I would just rip your sponge up to kind of, I don't know what they're called, but like the little divots in the sponge, you want to expose those so you get some texture. You could also use like a paper towel to get texture. Just dip it in and, you know, kind of sponge it on with the paper towel. So a lot of different ways you can get this texture that we're going to do on the background. We're also going to be using palette knives. So we've got palette knives. If you don't have a palette knife, you can absolutely just use a brush, and we're going to just do like bigger strokes because we're going to want to build up and layer. You can absolutely use paintbrushes. I can see the comments here in the screen. So absolutely paintbrushes. So I've got my paintbrushes. I've got a variety of sizes. I've got pencils so I can transfer my image. And then I do have a piece of chalk that I'm going to show you that will help you draw some detail on the turtle once we start to layer. And I've got a hair dryer. We're going to do a lot of drying because there is a lot of layers built up. So again, if you have questions, just let Steven know and he'll relay them over to me if I don't see them. So I'm going to set my paints over here.
We had a question about using metallic paint for this. I think that'd be a good, yeah.
Absolutely. FolkArt, Treasure Gold, metallic would be beautiful on this. Again, any glitter, any metallic, look at that. You could put glitter all over the water. You could do like a holographic, you could do blue here. So a lot of really great options. You could put some on the turtle. So I love this. Okay. So this is a big guy. Like I said, this is 16 by 16 we're going to be working on, but I did print out a smaller version so we can kind of have it in screen because I know that always helps people as we're painting. So I hope that helps a little bit if you can't see the full painting that's complete. Okay, I've got my canvas and we've already gone ahead and we've taped together our turtle. Now, so an easy way to transfer this, if you don't have transfer paper, flip this over and we're going to go old school and we're going to take a number 2 pencil and we are going to color the lines that we want to trace. And so we are just going to loosely color over the lines. Does that make sense? So I can see through this paper and I am just going to color, and you can do all the lines if you want to transfer everything, but since we're going to be doing so much layering, I'm really only doing the main outside line. So I just really want that shape of the turtle, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint in the details. But if you want to follow exactly along and you want that circle exactly where we placed it, absolutely. But I'm just going to use this as an outline for my turtle. So once you've done that, then you want to take your canvas. No, actually, we're going to hold on. So get that prepared. So color that all in. So we're going to set that aside and he'll be ready. Then we're going to take our canvas, and I've already dipped paint on this. Somebody asked, what if you've already put the outline on? We're just going to sponge over it. We'll just be careful of the lines. So you could absolutely transfer this on now, but I'm going to go ahead and put my base coat down, and then we're going to transfer it while it's dry, but you could do either way. So just knowing that your sponge is going to go over your line a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do, and again, we dripped some green paint on here. He's already dry. Okay, we're going to take our white paint. So this is our Wicker white, and I'm just using a paper plate as a palette here. We're going to use a lot of paint for this. So I'm going to put a big puddle of FolkArt Wicker white. I'm also going to do my Ultramarine blue. And that is a beautiful blue. Look at that. It's really creamy and beautiful. I love that blue. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top corner here. You can see. And I'm going to take my sponge, and I have, these come in a pack. So it's really easy to use multiple sponges in this process, and you can wash them out. But again, I like to have multiple, and you don't need a lot, like just something that fits in your hand like this. And this is really fun. So I'm going to start at the top corner, And I'm just gonna use white. I'm gonna go pure white, and I'm just gonna bounce up and down. Now you can go and do the sides also. For me, it's easier when I'm up here not to get the sides, but you'd wanna go around the corner there and get all the sides. And then I'm going to slowly start working my blue in.
And Kira, can you repeat one more time? Is your sponge wet or dry?
My sponge is dry. So I'm just going from my paint. I'm not washing or wetting it in between. And I just keep going back and forth and working it in blue and white, blue and white. So if you want more white, you just add more white. And a little bit of paint actually does go a long way. You're gonna use a lot on this, but you're just getting a really good coat. And if you're like, oh, that's too much blue, just add a little bit of white. If you start to get too much blue on your sponge, just rotate your sponge. Look, you can cover that up. So if you're like, oh, it's getting dark and I want a little bit more white, just rotate your sponge or go to another sponge. It's really helpful to have a bowl of water on your table if you're using sponges, so you can just keep them wet. And then in the end, you can go ahead and wash them. So you don't have to stop and worry about them drying out, because you can reuse these, which is really great. So I would just have a bowl of water, just like you do for your paintbrushes, and keep this in the water. And then at the end, you can wash them, kind of wring them out really well and let them dry completely before you use them again. So that is important. You really want these to dry before you use them again. So again, if you're like, oh, too much blue, just keep layering and adding, and you're gonna get that beautiful texture. And it creates like a lot of movement. I hope you can see that on there. So I'm just gonna keep sponging. And I'm gonna just cover this green up. Like I said, we got some green paint on it, but no problem.
These things happen in the craft room sometimes.
Oh, you have no idea. And you want to just keep working back and forth. You want to make sure you don't have stripes. So you want it to feel very natural. It's a good little workout for your arm too. This is a big canvas. So again, you could go smaller. You could use a rectangle. It's really up to you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the fun thing about these abstract paintings, is there's not really a wrong way to do it. Like
right,
you said earlier,
absolutely.
you could definitely like sub out the sponges and use like a pounce brush or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you can cover this entirely. Now remember, you can always go back and add. So if you want a little darker, like, oh, I'm kind of just following this pattern here on the turtle. So I'm adding a little bit more blue in here. Remember, the turtle's gonna cover up. He's big on here. So he's gonna, I'm assuming he's a boy. He's going to cover up a lot of this canvas. Okay, so now I'm gonna take and I'm gonna switch over. I'm gonna start working more with the blue. So less white, more blue. And again, just a good transfer, you know, kind of. So you can see, and then you really can layer this on and look at the range that you can get. And we're gonna go, so it gets darker and deeper in the ocean as we go towards the bottom. So that you really wanna be concentrated, the blue, and layer it also. And you can see the more you tap, you get different shades just within the blue. So you can see there's lighter and darker just with the solid blue. And then you can start working some white in. So we're almost working backwards now. So now we're gonna add some white back into it. Okay, so there's my blue, there's my water. Then I am gonna switch sponges. So I'm gonna set that aside. And again, you just wanna keep it in water, keep it wet, and then you can go back and wash it out and reuse it. So now I'm gonna go into my green. So this is classic green. I'm just gonna put it right on my plate. You can see there's classic green. I'm also gonna use some lime green. Now, if you don't have lime green, you can always add some of the sunny yellow into your classic green to create that lime green, or you can add a little bit of brown into your lime green to make it a little bit darker. So again, you can really play around with it. But I do want to work dark to light on this. So instead of light to dark, I'm going to go dark and then add pops of light. And I'm going to hit this with a hair dryer. So I'm going to dry this while everybody is still spouncing. Okay, and it's going to dry really fast. So now I'm going to start adding my greens. So again, I'm just following this pattern right here. So this is seaweed in the ocean. I'm just going to follow this pattern and I'm going to do some green here. So it's just a really great composition. I hope you guys can see that. Okay, so I'm going to grab another sponge. Again, if you don't have a sponge, grab a kitchen sponge, grab a paper towel. You could literally, I'll show you. Grab a paper towel, ball it up. I'll show you guys how easy. Ball that up. This is just a paper towel. Kind of spounce off and you can still get great texture. So look at that. If you don't have a sea sponge, I like the sea sponge. It's usable. You know, you may just have to keep changing these out, but you can get some great texture with the paper towel if you don't have that. Okay, so I'm going to do my green and I'm going to go ahead and I am going to add green. It's really loud. It's tapping on the table. So again, I'm just following loosely where the seaweed would be. And it's kind of behind the turtle. He's swimming in front of it. And don't worry, if your blue isn't completely dried, I kind of like how it's mixing and you can see it even gives you another shade and tone here. So don't worry if your blue paint and your white paint are not completely dry, it actually gives it more depth. So it's kind of nice. So don't worry about that. And while I have my dark green on here, I'm just going to go ahead and do the other side. Again, do the sides of your canvas while you're at it. Okay, so I kind of have my classic green. So now I'm not going to wash my sponge. I'm going to use the same sponge. Again, I like when it blends and it kind of gives you different colors and, you know, it gives you a lot of depth once you mix your colors. So I'm dipping right into my lime green. If you don't have lime green, take your yellow and your green, your classic green, and mix them together and you'll get another really great shade. And I am just going to tap in. Now, I'm not going to tap everywhere that I put the classic green. I'm just going to kind of come in the middle here. So I hope you can see that. Just going to kind of tap, tap. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to go back into my lime green and tap. So you don't have to do it everywhere. So you still want to see the classic green, the blending of the dark or the green with the blue and adding that. Okay. Then I am going to add yellow, but I'm going to switch my sponge around. So you can either switch your sponge out or just turn your sponge. My fingers are getting dirty. I just have some baby wipes. Remember, our paint is non-toxic. So FolkArt is non-toxic and it cleans up with soap and water while it's wet. These are just baby wipes. So really easy if it gets on your hands, but I kind of like this part of it. Okay, I'm just going to go into my yellow. And I'm just going to add, I'm going to use my yellow as my highlight here. So just a little bit of yellow. And again, I'm just following the pattern of the original here. So I'm just adding yellow. So yellow is going to be my highlight instead of white. So I love that technique also, that it always doesn't have to be white and black. You can use lighter shades to highlight and create depth and texture. Now, also the way you manipulate and move the sponge around, you can see here, you can get different textures. So This is a little bit more blended. This, I put a little bit more paint on it and made it more deliberate, like pressed a little bit harder, and you can get some definition. I can't even think of words right now, but you can definitely use the sponge to get so many. It's not going to just look uniform like you did the same thing in every spot. You can really work with the sponge. And if you don't like the shape or the design that you're getting, turn your sponge around. You know, I love these sea sponges because they are natural and it's going to automatically create different textures. None of it is going to be the same, which you can really get a lot of different texture, which is great. Again, if you want a brighter highlight, just add a little bit more yellow. If you want it more subtle, just kind of like you could even offload and like you're almost like dry brushing with a sponge. Okay. So I feel good about that. Does everybody feel good?
Yeah, I think it looks good, Kira.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside and I'm gonna dry this so we can then transfer our turtle. Okay. So this is pretty dry. Now I'm going to take my turtle. So like I said before, we're ready to go on this. And I like to go ahead and pencil this in and have it ready so I don't need to keep switching and move my canvas. So what we did was we printed the pattern of the turtle. We cut it, pieced it together. So it's A, B, C, and D, very easy. And we took a number 2 pencil and we colored the lines on the back. Now you can do the entire turtle if you want all the spots and all the shapes and all the detail, because there is a lot of detail. Or you can just do the outline and then go ahead and paint in the spots. So I'm just going to do the outline. So I've gone ahead and done this. Then I'm going to place the turtle. Now, composition. You can put your turtle right dead smack in the middle. On the example, we actually kind of cut him off like at the back of his shell. So it's just more interesting. But again, you could do the whole turtle. You could do multiple turtles. You could have another turtle coming in the other way, depending on the size of your canvas. And you could also, you know, make this pattern smaller on your computer if you wanted to shrink it down, or on a copier. But we're going to kind of cut the turtle off here, so you're not going to see all his back legs. So I'm just going to place that here. I'm going to kind of angle him up a little bit. Again, I want to make sure that his front arm, front leg is completely on the canvas. And then you can either take a stylus, the end of a paintbrush, or your pencil, and then you want to trace your outline. So anywhere you put that pencil on the back, you are just going to press onto your canvas and it's going to transfer that line. So again, you could do all your turtle spots, or you can just do the outline of the turtle. It's really up to you. And I'm not pressing hard enough that I'm breaking through the paper. If you're nervous about using the pencil, use the end of the paintbrush, just the tip of the paintbrush, that'll work also. You just wanna have enough pressure that it's transferring the lead from the pencil onto your canvas. You can also use transfer paper if you have it. If you don't want to do this technique, you could also cut the turtle out and just trace him. That's another way to do it. So I am just tracing the body on here again, just loosely tracing. Oops. Okay. So I am gonna just kind of go over this so you can see it a little bit better. I'm gonna go a little bit darker. I think you can see the lines. I need to look at them while I do it. Okay, so just want to make sure. So if you are just freehand drawing this and you want to see on the dark, you can also use a piece of chalk to go over the dark spot, like the dark blue, and trace it on there. So a couple different options. So maybe you guys can see that. So I'm kind of using the dark and the light just so everybody at home can see. Remember, we're going to do a lot of painting on this. So don't worry if it's not perfect, because we can fix it with paint. So don't worry if he's not perfect. So I hope you guys can see that.
Yeah, I think we can see it.
Okay. Just want to give myself a couple little guides. I promise it will come together, and it's an abstract turtle. Okay. Okay, doesn't look like much, but it's going to be cute when we're done. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add the glitter at the end. So I didn't forget about that part either. I'm going to let this dry completely, even though I hit it with a hair dryer, it could still be damp. So I'm going to let that dry.
So Kira, what would you say if somebody's having trouble getting their pattern to transfer?
Yep. So I would make sure that this is, you can see the paint on here. Make sure this is dark enough and just take your time. I'm rushing everything because I don't want you guys to be bored watching me transfer, but just really take your time and press. Like, you're not going to go through the canvas. So, I mean, it's a medium to heavy, like light, heavy pressure. Like, you don't want to go light. It does take some pressure to get it to transfer. So don't be nervous.
You're not going to poke through the canvas.
You're not going to poke through the canvas.
Even if you did make a dent in it, you could still cover it up with paint and you won't notice it.
Absolutely. So don't be nervous. Okay. So I'm going to start painting. So we are going to paint our turtle blue. So again, you just did all this line work. So don't worry. Don't, be nervous. We're going to cover it up. We're going to go back and we're going to take that ultramarine blue. And I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the licorice because I want a really deeper blue on him so he doesn't completely blend in with the water. So I'm going to take black and ultramarine blue. I'm going to take my brush. So you just need a little bit of black and ultramarine blue. So not quite navy, we're just dulling down that blue a little bit to give him a base. So his body, the base is going to be blue for ours. Okay. And then I'm just going to follow the line. And it does not have to be a perfect straight line because we're going to go back with a palette knife and we're going to give him texture. So don't worry if his shell is not perfect. So we are just going to paint. And again, you want to paint the sides. I'm going to add a little bit of water. And this paint is so thick and creamy. You're going to get a lot of coverage, especially with these dark colors. So you're just going to need one coat. I'm just giving it a really good base coat. So I am following my lines just to keep the form of the turtle. Now this paint is really thick, so if it does start to drag, you can always add a little bit of water. And so I am using the ultramarine blue, and I've mixed in just a little bit of black. Okay, so there's a shell. We'll do the back of his leg. Okay. Then I'm going to do his big front leg. So this is the really dominant, are we calling them arms or legs? I'm always bad at this. You guys know, I never know the parts.
Maybe flipper. I don't know. If
flipper,
that's right.
His front flipper. I love that. Stephen, you should look that up. What's it called? What's the turtle's appendages called?
I'm on it.
And we are going to cover this all up with these bright spots on the turtle. So don't worry if it's not exactly perfect. You can see it taking shape. Look at the depth. Like, I love it. It really does look like on screen here. I can see it. I like the depth that you can get and the range of color you can get.
Google says that they are flippers.
Oh, you're smarty pants.
But somebody said fins, and I think that's also acceptable.
Oh, I like fin, yes. Okay, so flipper fin. Okay, so I'm gonna cover up his face. The faces always make me nervous, but we're gonna work through this and it's gonna be really easy. So let's cover up his face. How's everyone doing? Is the turtle going well for everyone?
Looks like we have some people working.
Okay, good.
Be on their turtle.
Don't forget when you are done that to post your painting and hashtag plaid crafts and make it with Michael so we can see what you make, because we love to see. Okay. If you fell behind, don't worry, you can get caught up and you can also go back and watch this. So don't worry if you fell a little bit behind. I saw someone. So I'll give everybody a minute. So there you can see, and the way I did it, you can see still the definition. It's just not a blue blob. You can see his face, his shell, his back flippers, and his front flippers.
Very nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry while everybody gets caught up.
Good idea.
Okay, I'm gonna put this aside. Okay. Hey, Stephen, you know what we haven't done in a while? I'm going to make you pick a winner at the end, and we're going to pick from someone and send them this folk art paint that we used for the painting.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that.
Okay, good. So everybody don't hang up when we're done on the Zoom. We're going to pick a winner. And then if you just direct message Plaid Crafts on Facebook and let us know that you watched the Michael's live class, we will send you some folk art paint.
Yeah, that's the Facebook group.
That's fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's our turtle. You can see All right, still looking turtle, like a turtle. Everybody good? Okay. You can use carbon paper to trace. Okay. All right, and then just think of it in shapes if you're not tracing. Think about it. Oval for the shell, just think about a turtle. Oval, they're all ovals or triangles. Oval, 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 triangle. Easy. Just think of it, break it down into shapes. If you don't have the capability to print and do this, literally just break it down. You got an oval, you can do a large oval and a second oval. Does that make sense? Oval, because all you need are those basic shapes, and a triangle. That's all you need are those basic shapes, and piece it together. Does that help? Because sometimes it's scary to draw.
Yeah, I think that makes it a little bit easier to digest and to understand.
Just think about it as shapes, ovals, and connect them. Okay. So next on here, what we're going to do is we are going to use the brown, and we are going to use the palette knife. Now, if you don't have a palette knife, you can either go back to the sponge if you like that texture, or you can use a brush and just dab. I'm going to use a palette knife, but you could absolutely use a brush or the sea sponges. So we are going to use a palette knife, but a lot of different ways. If you want to go back to using the sea sponge and sponge that brown on, you can absolutely do that if you're having fun with the sponge. I like the different textures, but again, you can get so many different textures. So we're going to mix up some brown and white, and we are going to do his flippers under his body here a little bit, and the bottom of like his chin with brown. Hopefully you can see that. That helps. Okay, so I am using the coffee bean. So again, we're using FolkArt matte. It's super creamy matte acrylic paint. It is great for canvases, wood, terracotta, whatever your paper, whatever you're painting on. It's such a great paint. So we're going to use that. And I'm also going to mix some of the Wicker white with it. I'm going to use a palette knife. If you haven't used a palette knife, I know Kirsten, this is one of her favorites. It is really fun. And if we're doing all the different textures, it's a really fun way to do it. So when you're doing a palette knife, you want to hold it parallel to your canvas. So you don't want to angle it or hold it up like a paintbrush. You want to hold it so you are even with your canvas, and you want to press down and pull. So you're like swiping. Do you hear that noise? So you want to swipe. So if not, again, you could sponge, or you can use a brush, and just use a larger brush. And I would do like almost like a slip slap. Like I would just back and forth to create that texture. So a lot of ways that you can do that. I'm going to use a palette knife though, and I'm going to mix brown, and I'm going to use my palette knife to mix, and I'm going to mix brown and white because I want a light brown color. So you can see that really pretty light brown color. And I'm going to take the palette knife and I'm going to drag it. So I'm not painting. I don't want it smooth. I want it to drag. I got a little bit too much on there. That's okay. There we go. So practice a little bit too. Now we can always go back. So don't worry if you're like, oh, I slapped it down there and I have too much brown. Don't worry. We can always go back. That is the beauty of paint. You just paint over it. There's never a mistake. You let it dry, you paint over it. Don't try to wipe it when it's wet. Hit it with a hair dryer, just go right over it. So here, I want to show you. So less paint is more. I am just swiping. I don't want to cover it completely. I still want to see some of that blue. So here it got a little heavy, but I'm going to fix that. So I'll show you. So don't worry. So do you see that? I'm going to go right back in that same brown. I'm going to add a little bit to this fin and practice. Just, you know, practice on your palette or a piece of paper. Just practice that motion and that technique, and you'll get a hang of it once you start doing it. Again, if you get too much, we can fix it. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm gonna take that same color. I'm gonna add a little bit more white. So same puddle of paint, add a little more white. And I'm gonna do, Stephen, what's this called? His chin, his neck, his chin.
I think that's fair. The chin works, chin works.
The turtle chin.
Yep.
Okay, and then I'm gonna keep adding a little bit of white. So I'm just taking that brown and white and just keep mixing a little bit white to get my different shades. And I'm gonna go right over it, not dry, I didn't dry. I'm just going to work in some white over top. Get a little bit down here. Just so you don't just have solid brown. It's all about layering and texture on this. And then I am gonna do the under of his, this would be his belly under his shell, I guess. Definitely not a science major, you guys.
Okay, so we have a good question, Kira.
Yeah.
If you wanted to keep everything more in the blue tones, could you use another color, like another shade of blue rather than brown?
Absolutely. So I would take, if you have a different blue, or use your ultramarine, and I would do the same technique. I would add white to it and create those blues. You could do it all blues and greens. You could do it black and white. You could do it all pink, all purples, but absolutely, I would take the blue. If you have multiple blues, that's great also, but this ultramarine, you could just mix it with white and do the absolute same technique. That's a great question. Also doing abstract is fun, right? Because you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Right.
This is just a really fun one. Okay. So I think I'm good with the brown. And I mean, there's not a lot of paint on this, so it's gonna dry very quickly. So I am gonna hit it real quick with a hairdryer while everybody adds their brown or blue. Okay, so here's the fun part. So we are going to go ahead and add the spots on the turtle. So we're gonna add all these beautiful colors. So again, this is where you can personalize it. You could do all blues and greens. You could do any color you wanted, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add these shapes on the spots, or on the shell and the fins and the head. So if you have chalk and you have a dark color, this is really great if you want to draw some guidelines. And again, think shapes, triangles, rectangles, you're just filling in, loosely filling in with chalk. Right? It's not perfect. You're just loosely, just kind of giving yourself a guide. Especially if you're new to using a palette knife, this makes it really easy. So again, just drawing some simple shapes. And I want to make sure I leave room for his eyes. His eye is going to go about there. Okay. Remember, he's going to have a mouth also, so you can draw that in. And again, just draw in your shapes. Now the arms are a little bit easier. I feel like you can get a little more abstract with those. You just don't want it, you want it to feel random. You don't want to look like his shapes are lined up. You don't want to look like 3, 2, and go, in a line. Like it needs to be like very organic looking. So that's just a good guide. And I am just literally following along the pattern in the painting. So follow along with this, but just think of it as simple shapes. Okay, so here's the fun part where you can really personalize it. Again, I am going to use my palette knife. Again, you can use a brush or sponge, and I am going to layer. So I'm going to put a lot of colors on my palette. So I've got bright pink, and you're not going to need a lot of paint for this. I've got baby pink, which you could use pink and white, bright pink and white. A little bit of yellow. We've got purple. So this is really, you know, the rainbow of colors here. Some red, so this is apple red. So a really great variety. Pick your palette first, and this is really the fun part. And a little bit of white. And I am gonna also make a light blue. So I'm gonna take that ultramarine with my white and mix that together. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just going, and some orange, sorry, my orange isn't open, it's a brand new bottle. I love that, got some pure orange. So I really do have a ton of colors here. So if you don't have all of these colors, that's fine. Pick your palette, get close to it. You can also mix, but this is where we're gonna take your palette knife and we are gonna create the spots on the shell and on his fins. So if you can see that. So I am going to use my purple first. So I'm gonna take my purple and I'm gonna do the same technique. I'm just going to swipe inside of that chalk. Now remember that chalk's gonna disappear. So don't worry, you don't have to cover it up exactly. Also, if there's any chalk when you are done, let that completely dry and you can just wipe it with like a dry paper towel and it'll come right off. So don't worry. Now I'm not gonna put the same color on every spot either. I want it to feel organic and abstract. So I am not going to put purple on every spot. I am going to pick my spots. I'm going to do every other, a little bit here, and maybe pick your dominant color. So if you want your purple to have a lot, your turtle to have a lot of purple spots, then use that color more. If you want it just to be blue and maybe just a couple pops of purple, that's great also. So really, you know, pick your favorite and just add it to your turtle. And I'm just following these shapes loosely. So these are squares and triangles. And it's great, the palette knife, you have a lot of control using the palette knife. So I'm just gonna wipe the back of my palette knife off. And then I am going to go into the darker purple and my light purple's still wet. And again, I'm just doing the same technique. And I'm just using the tip of the palette knife. So when you're doing a larger surface area, you can really use the flat part of your palette knife. Okay. Okay, so then I'm gonna go into my pink. So I love this pink on the navy. Absolutely love it. So I'm gonna add. Don't forget his face. We still have to go back and do his eye. Okay, I'm just gonna wipe this off and I'm just gonna keep adding and building color. So I'm not drawing in between. I'm not using a ton of paint. If it starts to get muddy, hit it with a hair dryer. So if you're like, oh, I've got a lot of paint, it does not take a lot of paint. I want you to see, it is not a lot of paint. So if it really does start to get muddy, pause and hit it with a hair dryer, and that'll make it easier to control. So probably after this, I will go ahead and hair dry once I start to get some more layers on here.
And Kira, take your time with the hair dryer so we can give some people time to catch up just a little bit.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna keep adding my paint here. Okay. All right, I'm going to dry while everybody catches up. So don't feel rushed. I'm just gonna keep adding color and you can watch as it builds. So I'm gonna use orange now. And again, I'm gonna start to define my shapes a little more. And each one's gonna look different. Again, I am just layering. So I'm gonna make a light blue. I'm gonna take that ultramarine blue and mix it with the white. Again, if it starts to get muddy, just pause and dry it. You could even add glitter to your turtle if you wanted to, or metallic to your turtle.
Kira, I think everybody is really enjoying the way this looks. We have comments here that says this looks so cute.
Yeah.
Dan says turtle is looking great.
I love the little personality that is coming out on him. Okay, so I'm gonna just keep adding. Again, pick your favorite colors. I love that you can personalize this so much. And just the texture that you can get by using a palette knife or sponge or a paper towel and different, you know, all the different tools. And I'm really just manipulating the paint now and filling in so there aren't those harsh spots of the navy. I really like the pink and the navy, so I'm gonna go back in with that. Now, again, if you want a lighter shade, just add white. So I want a little bit lighter purple. I'm just gonna add a little bit of white and bring that in here. How's everybody doing?
I think we're doing good. Dee says that we have a funkadelic turtle here.
I know, I kind of like it. I'm enjoying him. Okay, so once you have all your color on, I'm just gonna take my palette knife into my white and I'm gonna add some highlights onto his spots. So again, I'm just doing the white and adding some highlights. Okay. Then we need to do his eye. So I'm going to use a palette knife. You can use a brush, but I am going to use a palette knife and I'm going to use my white. So I'm going to take some Wicker white. And now I left a spot for his eye. So I'm just going to use a palette knife like I'm painting. So it's going to have texture. Okay, so there's the middle of his eye. Then I'm gonna take some green. There's some green left over here from earlier. I'm gonna take some of the classic green and I am going to color around his eye. Again, I'm using a palette knife because I wanna keep that texture, that look and feel that we have. You can use a brush if you want it to be more defined. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little bit of brown and black and make the center of his eye. There's a lot of paint happening here. Okay. So a little bit of brown and black. I just don't want pure black. It feels a little harsh for his eyes. So I'm just going to mix a little bit of black and brown. I'm just going to do the center right over the white. So we're going to kind of have it. Does that make sense? So I mixed a little bit of the brown and the black. And again, it's not a perfect eye, right?
This is an abstract painting.
It is. I love it. And then if you want, you can take your palette knife, just wipe it off, go back into a little bit more white, and you just dab, add some highlights to his eye. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and let everybody catch up, keep dabbing and painting, and I'm going to dry him. And then we're going to do a little bit of an outline and add the glitter. Okay, so now I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to use a round brush and I'm going to use my black. So I'm going to use solid black. Again, you could outline in any color. So I'm going to outline his body and also put his smile on. So I'm going to take my brush and I am going to outline. Now I'm going to loosely outline. So that means it's not perfect. So you can see it's okay. I am going to go into the black and I'm just defining him, but not perfect. I don't need to be like, oh, I missed, or it's not perfect. Just kind of pull your brush along. Okay. I'm going to go from his nose to his smile. And I'm just outlining. Now you could go back and do as much detail. What you could do is you could go back in. So now you have all this color. You could actually go back in and define the squares on his shell with either blue or black if you wanted to, or you can leave them more abstract like this. So you can also go back and add if you're like, oh, I kind of lost the shape of my spots on the turtle and I want to go back. You could absolutely go back and define those more. So I'm just loosely tracing the black. You could also trace in a color. If you have a color scheme going on, you could trace in white if you wanted that contrast from the blue body. Okay. So again, if you wanted to, you could take this and you could absolutely define, you see what I mean? You could take that and you could define his shell more. Or you could just leave it abstract as it is. Okay. So that's your turtle. So I know people are probably a little bit behind, but that is your turtle. Again, you could keep working on him and layering him. And then we're going to talk about Glitterific Pop. So Glitterific Pop is the newest to the Glitterific line. We have got Glitterific, Glitterific Fine and Glitterific Pop, and we're using Dragon Scales, which is this beautiful green and gold. So it's multiple size particles suspended, multiple size particles, multiple colors of glitter suspended in a clear base. So I want to show you. Oh, I like to see everybody commenting. So look, it's creamy and milky when it comes out, but I'm going to show you. So when it dries, it's going to just dry really shiny. Now you can add them to your whole turtle like we talked about. You can you can just add it to the green. We're just going to do green, but again, you could add our hologram or silver or gold. And I'm going to use a sponge. Now, again, you can use a palette knife, you can use a brush, or you can use the sponge. I'm going to use a sponge and we're going to apply it. And look at that. It is really thick and creamy. And again, it looks milky, but it's going to dry clear. And I am just going to dab all over the green. So don't worry, all that work you did on the green is still going to shine through. It's okay if it goes over on the blue a little bit. Again, no problem, because it's going to dry completely clear. And so I am just going to dab right over the green. I'm gonna need a little bit more. Again, Glitterific, it is the mess free. It is gonna dry, it does not rub off. So once that dries, your glitter is on there. This is indoor outdoor, which is amazing. It's great for multiple surfaces. Again, I love that you can use it on a painting, but you can also paint a vase or paint a mason jar or a clay pot. It's just a really versatile paint. And again, it just works so well with all the different folk art formulas. So you can add as much or as little. You can mix your glitters. I like that it's on the blue a little bit. So you get that green glitter over the blue. So I'm gonna hit this with a hair dryer so you guys can see it.
And this is glitter is called Glitterific Pop, and the color is called Dragon Scales, and it's kind of a green glitter.
Green, yes. So here you can see how fast. That's not completely dry, but look at that. So this is green and gold. So this beautiful green and gold in this one. But again, you could use blue or silver or gold or rainbow colored. There's so many different, and I love the Glitterific Pop because it's different colors and different shapes and sizes of holographic glitter suspended in the milky base, but it dries clear. So you're just gonna get that beautiful shine. All right, well, that is our abstract Under the Sea Turtle. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's something different, but it's really fun and it's great for summer. And I hope you have a little fun. So don't forget to take pictures and hashtag plaid crafts and hashtag make it with Michaels.
Kira, do we want to do our giveaway?
Yes, pick a winner.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna pick from random a winner, and you want to direct message us on our Plaid Crafts Facebook page. So message us and let us know that you took the Michaels class and that you won, and we will send you paint.
All right. I think our winner today is Elise Chan.
All right, Elise, congrats.
Yeah, Elise, if you want to get your mom or dad or your parents to help you, message us on our Facebook page. That would be awesome. And we'd love to send you a paint set. Fantastic.
Yeah. My C2-year-old team will love us. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you guys all for joining us. It was great to be back and to get to be with everybody tonight. We have more classes upcoming this week, so definitely check out the schedule. And we'll see you for Paint Night Live next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.